Good morning. Today we look at Psalm 70 and Psalm 71. And Psalm 70, if you remember, I did hardly remember this, but back as we looked at Psalm 40, Psalm 70 is virtually identical to Psalm 40 verses 13 through 17. A little bit of difference, but not an awful lot. But it's, be pleased, O God, to deliver me, at your pleasure. And it's take pleasure in me. I mean, I think about why would God take pleasure in me, or in any of us. But, be pleased, God, to deliver me. O Lord, make haste to help me. Let those be put to shame and confusion who seek my life. And again, it's that plea for safety, for protection, for guidance, and to keep my enemies at bay, to let those be turned back and brought to dishonor who desire to hurt me, and it's again that plea. And how often we hear that in the Psalms and in our daily lives too. How often do we ask God for that protection for not only for us, but for our children, for our grandchildren, keep them safe, give them a safe journey on the way home, and, bring them safely as they travel, watch over their day. I mean, we have those same prayers, and often they're not just for self, but for others to, be pleased, oh God, to deliver, these that I love and cherish, to protect them from danger. And I think about, the traffic and the driving and so much that goes on in our daily lives, and, and we just got back from Medora and driving out there, on interstate, you're pretty safe. But, they're driving through towns and a little bit that way, and the enormous number of cars and vehicles that are present, and the distractions that are there, and how often we get distracted in life, and just a few seconds can make such a difference that way. But it is, again, just, oh God, deliver me, watch over me, protect me from those little instances sometimes, but also from those big, major problems and things as well that way. Let all who seek you rejoice, it says in verse 4, and, so that, those who seek the Lord, let them be pleased, let them be receive what they ask for, let them continue to reflect upon you and to come to you, and let them say, God is great. I am poor and needy, but hear me, O Lord. You are my help. Do not delay. And again, it's just that confidence that comes through. It's like a child asking your parent for, may I have a glass of water? Well, you're not going to deny that. May I have something to eat? May I have a snack? I mean, and sometimes, these kids and grandkids can get to, too many times they come, and, but sometimes we hear that same question, that same request, and we, don't you know the answer to that, but we continue asking. And so we rejoice that God hears us, no matter how many times we come to Him asking for protection, for guidance, for daily necessities that way. God hears us. Psalm 71, in you, O Lord, I take refuge. You put your trust and your confidence that God hears you, that God is with you. And in this psalm, it's, verse 3, be a rock of refuge, a strong fortress to me. Verse 5, for you, O Lord, are my hope. From my youth I have trusted in you. And then verse 9, do not cast me off in the time of old age. So is this written by someone who is old and becoming closer to that time of the end of life? Or is it, someone, middle-aged that's praying for God's protection throughout to bring him or her to old age? But regardless of, you have been with me from my youth, be with me through my old age or in my old age, one or the other. And, it kind of answers that question a little bit, because it says in verse 18, so even to old age and gray hairs, do not forsake me, God. Proclaim until I proclaim your might to all the generations to come. And so it's that, it's a reminder maybe for us that God has watched over us from our youth, and it's, it's one of those things that, I have wisdom now because of all of the stupid mistakes I made, or, you gain wisdom by making mistakes, or you learn not to make mistakes because you made that mistake before. But, as we grow, we grow from youth to being older, and every day we get a little bit older. We never get younger, so it's always adding that day's life to what has come before. And it's that, be with me today as you were yesterday. And there was a prayer that one of my seminary professors prayed each day, oh Lord, as I start this day, be with me and watch over me as you were with me yesterday. Those aren't the exact words of the prayer, but it was that type of prayer. Thanking God for yesterday, asking God to be with me today as you were yesterday. And, so in our youth, we are taught about God, and that teaching, that knowledge of God remains with us. And as we become older, I think that knowledge, that trust, that faith becomes even more important to us. Not that it's not important when we're young, but I mean, it's I had a young person say, well, I'm 22 years old. What do I need life insurance for? I mean, and maybe it wasn't 22, but, I'm young. I'm not going to die tomorrow. What do I need life insurance for? Well, we don't know when that's going to happen. And there are young people that die, and maybe not 21, but 40 or 50 or 60 or, it happens every day. And so it's that knowledge that we have when we're young that becomes, I think, more important to us, more close to us as we get older. And it's, the faith and the trust that, God is with us forever. That forever is a powerful, powerful word. It's you can never earn God's grace, but we receive God's grace every day and forever because of God's grace. We don't have to do it on our own, because I can never be worthy on my own, but God is always, ever faithful in his forgiveness and his acceptance of us. And then verse 19, and second part of it, you who have done great things, O God, who is like you? And that admission to ourselves that, God is so superior to any of us and all of us. You who have made me see times in troubles and will revive me again from the depths of the earth. You bring me up, you increase my honor, you comfort my pain. And it's again, you are with me through all things of life, through all joys and through all sorrows and through everything in life, you are with me. And then because of that, I will praise you with harp and lyre and my voice, and for your faithfulness I will sing praises to you. My lips will shout with joy when I sing praises of you. And it's the last verse, 24, all day long my tongue will talk of your righteous help. For those who tried to do me in, for those who tried to do me harm will be put to shame. And again, just that absolute confidence that God has delivered this person, God has protected this person, God has walked with this person. And we can see that in our own lives as well, that God indeed walks with us each and every day through all of the trials, the calamities, and the temptations of life. And from the time of our youth until the time that we become older, it's we never outlive the need for God, and we never are left alone in our need by this God who is gracious and merciful.